everybody, my name's Lude Lloyd, but you can all just call me Lloyd, and on behalf of Vertic and Chibi, I just wanted to say thank you for coming, fellow travelers, to the Golden Feather Tavern. Let's sit back, grab a drink, and have a chat.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Golden Feather Tavern. We're your hosts, Chibi and Vertec, although it's just Vertec today. Discuss Ashes of Creation and important topics spoken about within the Ashes community. Every week we invite you, the viewers, and a special guest to pull up a chair, grab a pint, and join the conversation with us.
I don't think it's actually Chibi and Vertec being a wrong thing. I'm Chibi Lloyd today.
Yeah, it's Chibi Lloyd. It's Chibi Lloyd. Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. We have a replacement filling in. We didn't get him a skirt ordered in time, but you know, so he's in a hoodie. It's close enough.
No corset for you guys. I apologize.
Womp womp womp. Next time.
Womp womp.
Next time. So yeah, today's 19th of April, 2025. We are in episode 235, talking about changes and delays. And traveling bard joining us today is, of course, none other than Chibi Lloyd. How are you today, friend?
I'm great. Woke up a couple hours ago. I'm ready to go.
Hey, hit the ground running. My goodness.
I just got a job at a bar, so now I work night shifts. So my whole sleeping schedule is flipped.
True.
Best ADC player. Oh god.
Enjoy.
No.
You say you got
Dolores the best ADC player.
What did you say you're doing? You say you're doing bartending?
Yeah. I got a bartending job for now. We'll see.
Hoo-ha. Hey, see, we got you in here just in time. Got you hired at the tavern.
Hell yeah. On point. On theme.
So, just in case there are some people out there that have not heard of you, can you give a quick rundown on who you are, what you do, and what brings you to Ashes?
All of that stuff? Yeah. I'm Lude Lloyd, aka you can just call me Lloyd. I do Ashes of Creation content. I am a guild member of Polar, and we like to PvP. And so, because I like to PvP and Polar likes to PvP, I don't know. I like to look at like a lot of the topics that we're talking about today, which is like stat changes, the time to kill, all that stuff, all the new like gear tempering, all that stuff is really, really interesting to me because we really dive deep into all those topics.
Beautiful. I'm just making a change on something here real quick here now, because we haven't had you on for a good minute. At least onto the official podcast, I would say.
I also listened to the intro and I was like, God, I recorded that like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was forever ago. It was a long time ago.
I'm surprised you still have the file.
Oh yeah, we save all of them. Every single intro we still have.
Oh, nice.
We record and we catalog everything.
Nice. I
think every single stream we've ever done.
Though.
Yeah, you joined a bunch of those for sure.
Love those.
Which we always love having you on. Nice little casual chats. But yeah, so for today folks, as Lloyd there kind of, well, no, I'm gonna call you Chibi Lloyd for the whole show.
That's fine. That's
Chibi
totally
Lloyd.
fine.
As Chibi Lloyd broke down, throughout today we're gonna be talking about a whole bunch of different stuff. Delays, the stat changes, tempering, which seems to be a hot topic. I haven't played with it yet myself. Chibi and I were busy yesterday and just popped in today for this, so I'll be trying to toy with it later tonight after the show. But
I kind of understand it, but yeah, I haven't toyed around with it, but like I understand the gist of like what they do and so far what people's perception of the power is on it, so I think I can at least give some of info. I don't know. Yeah,
I can talk about my understanding of the system after chatting with some other folks and reading around on the forums and the Reddit. But Polar Vertec looks like a good name. Scored the peer pressures. It's real.
It's coming.
And are you indeed the best ADC player in Polar, Mr. Lloyd?
No, Dolores the best.
Okay. Because I know I saw you guys running around a little bit the other day.
Oh yeah, we
popped in real quick to taunt you, and you were having none of it.
We were having some low morale comms, I'll tell you that. we've had some pretty rough games, but we've also been winning a lot. So like the competition is getting harder and harder. So that's
Yeah,
why.
exactly. You can ride that high of steady wins until it suddenly starts smacking you with that brick wall of whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, we were in
whoa,
winners
whoa.
queue until we weren't, and then now we're in just losers queue forever.
Oh, what's that above me? Above who? I don't know. So yeah, so hey, do you have anything crazy and interesting going on in the near future, or something that's gone by here in the recent past? Like, I
Not
know you're
really
doing the
anything
AV8s and whatnot for a
crazy.
minute.
Yeah, I think there were supposed to be some more tournaments, but I think with all the gear changes and everything like that, player drop off has happened quite a bit in Ashes. So I think we're just waiting for fresh start server slash merge, all of that stuff that's happening. Gonna see where people are at and what people want to do. But I know whatever happens, we're pretty much prepared to just go full into it when that comes out. So I'm actually really looking forward to wipe, fresh start, server, or merge, whatever it is, because I think there's going to be a lot of fun like content that way. I'm also interested to see like how gearing is from level 1 now, considering like when Rogue came out, we only had like I could just like set him up with like stacked gear and just like level super easy.
Yeah.
Like I have like some clips where like I'm level 11 fighting a level 24 mage and like winning fights. Like it's kind of crazy, like because you could just gear them up and level 10 gear was the best gear that you could have, especially if it was enchanted. So like you were pretty much already like bridging the gap of like power level when you're just leveling a new character. So I think that was pretty interesting. I don't know. I think for like new stuff, not a whole lot. I think Ashes is kind of stagnated. I think you can see that in like Twitch stat, YouTube stats, and all that stuff, where viewership is kind of declining. So we're kind of at a low point. I'm also taking the time for me to get my life together a little bit, considering I just moved across the country. So getting my life together during this like lull time and making sure that I can like start building up and getting a good system for myself so that I can start up again in full speed.
Yeah, it's rough. Even if you already had it planned and you planned every step of the way for a cross country move, it's still a rough adjustment.
Oh yeah.
If nothing else, just because you have to unpack all the stuff and do something with it. Then you're like, do I really want to, or just no, it's gonna sit in a box.
I literally just shoved everything in my car and drove. So I mean,
yeah, a little bit less on the plan side.
A little bit, basically none. Just knew I had a place to sleep, and I figured it out from there. That was pretty much it.
There you go. Hey, see, it proves my
We're
point.
adventurous.
People, I've tried telling people before that if you need to get out of a certain area just because you don't like whatever, like the job situation, the people situation, the weather, whatever, like you can just go.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like the perception I like driving across country. I'm like, I just live completely gone of like all the other like societal concerns I normally have, and it was like weird because I'm free. I can do whatever I want. Until you know money becomes a problem and you need a job really bad. You know.
who needs jobs? What are the why would you do that?
Dude, if I could not work and I could just play games, I would.
Gotta hurry up and get you some of that fame. I hear people talking about it.
True.
Fame and
I
glory.
should honestly just put out more content if I want more fame. But to be completely honest,
I mean, fair.
Got a little lazy on that part, but who knows? So yeah, what about you? You're thinking about doing anything with the new Fresh Start server or anything like that? Is Nexus? I know you guys are all on Lineth right now, right?
Yeah, we're all on Lineth right now. Yeah, as far as what the guild's doing, I know leadership's talking about it. I know my vote's in for a fresh start. to be honest. Get some more data to them from a beginning of a server thing. Hopefully they don't do any of the like the node boost or anything like that, and we can see it naturally evolve.
Right, and they were talking about merging, as in, so far Intrepid's never done a merge, right? So like, I wonder if they're just doing it to test the technology, if they're doing it because they think it's the best idea. I'm not actually sure. Do you know anything like on their communication to the community about that?
No, didn't even really hear necessarily about if it was more for just it feels right, or if it was they want to get that data, or if they're just offering it as an option to, you know, against fresh start, like they were going to do a fresh start because of some of the things they fixed. And yeah, I'm not really sure. I would imagine they're probably doing it to test, as you were saying, the actual merging tech and process.
Mm-hmm. Because I've noticed it is kind of interesting to see like player drop off, especially like when phase 2 started and it was packed, like to the point where it was almost unplayable, like where you're fighting for trash tier mob grind areas just to level because like all the good ones were taken and like protected by PvP, and you were fighting over every single mob, over every single resource, and people were like, it was incredibly population dense. And to now where, I mean, this happens in like Tarkov and stuff too. This isn't just like Ashes only unique, but when people are aware that there's a wipe coming, they just kind of stop playing, or like the rewards at the end of the wipe just become like exorbitant to the point where like you don't really care about like wins and losses. I don't know. I think a lot of people just got a lot of apathy towards the end of the wipe, and or I say wipe, but towards the end here where there's going to be like a fresh start server coming.
Yeah, the end of that phase before they know a wipe's coming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense because you just want to kind of hang on and just keep testing a few things, but you know there's a fresh wipe. So it's like any kind of actual time you spend, the only thing you're really doing in there is just testing things. Like the end. That's really all you're doing. And I know that this is just a test, but there's more of a tangible feeling towards I can do this today and then test something else with it tomorrow. Versus when you know a wipe is coming, that do something else with it tomorrow isn't there. So, you know, why run another caravan, or why run another thing that's planning for tomorrow when you know tomorrow isn't going to be there? Just do the things, honestly, test the things that you can expose data today, right now, and call it done.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the issue I had with the time to kill. Like, I have gained a little bit of apathy with like having to re-gear my character with time to kill changes and like the stat changes and the diminishing returns and all that stuff, because I went from 454 power, like physical power unbuffed, to 178 power, and it just kind of crushed. Now I'm like, damn, now I have to go farm something that I don't like to farm in order to get my new gear and to kind of like repower level. And with the population kind of like decaying a little bit, I'm like, is it really worth it, or should I just wait for the fresh start?
Yeah. And that's kind of what I expect to happen with in a lot of people's minds is, you know, cool, there's this thing, I tested out how it's impacted me currently, I don't really want to grind to increase things. Now the thing is, with the merge, at least your character progress is apparently supposed to move over,
right?
So you can keep whatever's in your pockets and on your body.
What about what's in your node store? Does that carry over?
I would imagine
so,
but the thing is, if the nodes are getting nuked, that would be kind of a tricky thing for us to answer as someone who's not behind the scenes.
Says it does. And also Sitsuma said, Steven said in Discord, it is to test their server merge tech, which I'm totally fine with. If that's the case, merge it. I do think with the fresh start server, there's going to be it's going to leave a dead server in its wake, and so instead of having 2 dead servers, I think having 2 servers that have been merged where it might sustain some population is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, also, and Toast is saying, welcome in, by the way, Toast Elites. But Toast Elites is saying that stuff transfers over. And it would make sense with, especially there was talk of, I haven't experienced it myself or known anybody who tested it. I probably should, just to get it, as known knowledge. But I know for a minute there, when you were a citizen of a node and then you lost citizenship, you lost whatever was in that storage. But apparently that was fixed and changed, so you don't lose that. And if that's the case, then it's still, that means that all your items are in a bucket that are kind of independent of the node status. Mm-hmm. So if let's say a node de-leveled down to nothing, maybe that's actually another question. If a node gets destroyed, like your stuff in storage, what happens to it? I mean, it's all materials, all that stuff probably drops onto the ground to be picked up.
Well, part of the node siege is like you lose the area. It's kind of like that 25% drop off where like 25% of it gets deleted with the node, 25% remains within the node where there's that open PvP battleground that's up for X amount of time for people to like loot and scavenge it, right? So like you could get that stuff. And then there's like your freehold. You don't lose anything, you keep the blueprint, and whenever you get a new freehold, you use that blueprint to just, repopulate your stuff. So I think they have some of that in the works. But when it comes to materials during a node siege, you would lose about 50% if you didn't fight over the other 25% you lost. Or you might gain more, depending on if you participate a lot, and you might gain more than the stuff that you lost. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm curious looking at it because I know my understanding with it before was basically if the node gets sieged and dropped down to nothing, like everything in the storage is just toasted. So you would basically lose the 50%, like at a player death, like looking at it as a player death where you keep 50% in your inventory. Half of the other 50%, so 25% of the total is dropped on the ground, and 25% just vanishes into nothing. And my understanding was it gets rid of the you keep 50% and it just splits the entire storage, half on the ground and half goes to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I was pondering that mainly was, so if a server merge would mimic a loss of citizenship, or if it would mimic a loss of node, especially if they're going to be starting at, say, node stage 0 for all the nodes after they merge.
That's interesting if they would do that at all. I think if you're merging onto a different server, you would take the other server's status. So like if Lyneth went to Vyra, you'd be on Vyra's server. If Vyra went to Lyneth, you'd be on Lyneth's server. But if you merge both Vyra and Lyneth, does everything start from Wilderness? So let's Vyra assume... and Lyneth do like a different server, like Resna, for example, because Resna's been dead and gone for a while. If everything starts from Wilderness and everybody like lost their second storage or what, or if it goes into like Lionhold storage.
Well, looking at it as, let's say between now and then, let's say everything works flawlessly right now on Luneth, and we get a bunch of people that are doing crafting stuff, and they go and decide to do a ton of fishing in one of the new desert nodes that's currently at, tier 0, maybe 1 or something by now. What happens if Vyra didn't get those leveled up because people were too busy fighting, which doesn't gain any experience? They're fighting in lawless land or whatnot instead of actually progressing the node. And we got it up to tier 3 and say unlocked the storage, got citizenship, all that stuff, and then everything's merged into Vyra, which is stage 0.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen with that? That's kind of where my brain was. Like, is that going to treat it as if, you just lost citizenship?
I imagine we'll find a lot of bugs that way.
Yeah.
Or like I alluded to previously, where I think you get like all of that material would probably go into like a Lionhold storage or something like that, or Samia's Hope storage. But like if you have like an insane amount, like if you've bought like a bunch of tabs and stuff like that, maybe you lose some of that. I don't know. Like I think that's part of the testing process.
Now here's the other question I was curious about. When it comes to merging, right? Somebody is going to lose effort that they put into a node. So if, let's say, because you're going to be merging the low pop, low activity onto the high pop, high activity server, right? So low pop, low activity, let's say a guild spent all their time and effort and personal monies on focusing to just build up their one node. Like they're doing all these purchase contracts to get buildings put up, to advance the buildings, to get it advanced up as far as possible, and they're just dumping all their time and money, and they're going to be worse off than the guild who is just concentrating on pure private profit, and they just get a whole bunch of stuff in their pockets, and then they transfer over and that node just disappears.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like a known. I think that's kind of a known, like, that sucks type of mechanic, which is like when it comes to the server merging, is like it's gonna be, it feels bad for people that just put in like a ton of time trying to level something particularly on their server, and then it gets wiped or because of the server merge. I think that's just going to be a pain point. I don't think there's really a good way around it. It sucks. That's it. I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know what else to tell them.
See, the reason I think that should be focused on and actually thought about is because at that point, as soon as a server starts to really think that theirs is going to be merged, they're going to stop doing anything besides just putting gold in their pocket, and that's it. They're going to sell everything to merchants, and they're just going to, like, the server activity is going to stagnate even worse than it was. So even if there's a rumor that a server is going to get merged, then that could actually severely harm the activity on the server. Even if Intrepid thought it was healthy enough right now, like, no, it's doing well. That's a perceived emptiness that you guys have. It's actually doing really well. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of people logging in. They're just not interacting in the ways that you, the vocal ones, are expecting to interact with people. So it's an active server, but then the whispers get out that, there's no activity. They're gonna flush this server. Blah, 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 unless there's a public statement made, like, right away, like, no, we are not going to, not like we're even considering it, but an absolute statement of we are not going to merge the server. That activity could immediately tank down the toilet.
Well, I think that just falls under, like, self-confirmation bias, like one of those things where you start to believe a thing so much that your actions change, and that the end result ends up being the thing that you initially conceived that idea. And because you initially conceived that idea and it was like a general consensus that like ended up like flowing through, everyone just stopped trying and then end up making it a server wipe. I don't really think that's something that's something that's a social construct thing. That's not really a game development thing. Like, that's game developers will react to stats, and if the social construct is the thing that makes it break, then that's that. Like, like, I don't really think you can design a game system that can stop that type of social construct from forming and end up making a server merge happen.
That something like that, I think, could be gotten around by even something like, let's say, because we don't know what the rest of the map's going to look like, right? It could be a gigantic sprawling whatever, full of this and that and the other, and like actual social structures, or I guess set points of social hubs might be a little bit random if Intrepid is putting them in outside of, say, the portal areas. But the portal areas, they could drop literally like a caravan circle. Just drop a caravan circle on one part of town, and that's where you go to get the stuff that was all gathered up from all your different nodes and everything from your previous server. You just access it all right there.
I almost wonder if they just create a like a pseudo false container on a merged character's inventory, where it has all of their previous materials, where, so like, instead of creating it like a node container of like their inventory if they have like their own personal one when their merge character gets moved over, so that they can move it into the nodes they wish to move to.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking with the little caravan circle, like the just a
Yeah.
line of caravans that are always piled on the side of like any of the portal, like the arrival portal areas.
Yeah.
And then
I
that would
can
add.
see that happening, like if they want to add more to like the system itself to like add another point to the game. But from my perspective of like what Intrepid tends to do is they try to take the like what's easy to get this job done to like just facilitate the thing that we want. I mean, granted, it's an alpha state. Like a lot of this is rudimentary, anyways. Like if they want to, like at launch, say, add like a caravan system to it, they probably can. But I think for like alpha state, like just adding a personal container is just easier, and so that's the way that they would do it.
Oh yeah, and the personal container thing is along what I was thinking. I was when I was speaking, I was talking more of like a visible representation of where you would go to get your stuff and interact with it. But then when you go to either that caravan, you can select which city you'd like it to get it transported over to like fill in. But you have like 30 days to move your stuff. Yeah. But you can do it from that one caravan loop right there. Like tell it what, or even for that matter, maybe it might be better if you had to go to the node to pick it up. You could either pick it up at the caravan, or you could go to the individual node and transfer it manually just from two separate storages, like into the node.
I also just don't think the caravan system is supposed to be a risk versus reward thing. So like, I don't know, like it makes sense thematically within Ashes of Creation, but I don't think Intrepid wants to move players' stuff over and then force them into an
let me clarify. So not actually moving the caravan. I'm talking about just a visibly represent. So you could be just a stack of boxes instead of a line of caravans. Okay, like something that indicates like these people have just arrived, but it's from like another world. Rather than from the initial travel, but this is from another fully developed something. Like just something you could walk up to and you could visibly say like over there you want to go to that caravan, or even like I said, just a little warehouse location or something.
So you're saying like, okay, so the portal where Lionhold is, say people that get merged into the new server, they all start at that starting portal, but there's a like an NPC that has a bunch of like containers and stuff around him that you go to that has all of your previous world's items. And so like you interact with that NPC in order to move your stuff.
Yeah. And you have like a certain amount of time to do it.
I actually like that. I like that.
Let's see.
That's interesting. That also kind of changes like the way the economy and stuff works too, with like gear that was previously on another server that gets merged to a different one. And it's like, oh, that server had like Grandmaster weaponsmithing, but this server doesn't. So now they have just some really rare sword that they can sell on this server. That could have some pretty crazy impact. Obviously, there's no way for like a player to prep that, engineer that, but like I think that's a pretty interesting like gameplay loop that might evolve like on a very niche scenario. And if it happens, that'll just be funny. I don't think like Intrepid should try to like pre-plan for those things. Like I think if your server gets merged and you get like an advantage or a disadvantage out of it, I mean, I think it is what it is. I don't think that's something that Intrepid should really worry about, but I think that's a funny interaction that could happen.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see. Noobtastic. Maybe I missed what they said, that like there's gonna be a definite like this is exactly how we're going to do this, or did they just kind of say like it'll be available for people? The end. Because maybe I missed a statement on if there's exactly like a specific thing that they said this is exactly how it's going to work out, detail by detail. Like you're going to go, or you're going to arrive in the new server, you're going to go here, or you're going to go to the node and it's just going to magically be there at every individual node, guaranteed.
Yeah, we don't. I don't know if they've explicitly stated all that stuff. Like, we've heard little sentences from Steven saying this is what's going to happen, but until it happens, I'm not really sure.
Because I'll be honest, like, because here's the thing, like, if you end up going from one server, like right now in our testing, it's almost a moot point on will there be a node existing there when I arrive. Right. But if you were running all of your stuff, you had a very successful business running out of Miraleth, and you had all the storages open, you were a citizen, everything was packed full, and you had stuff on the marketplace and everything. And if you go over to and you merge onto a server that doesn't have Miraleth anywhere but 0, you've lost, what's that, 4 storage tabs worth of information or worth of items?
Yeah,
like,
we have
no
no
idea. Are you
idea.
just going to go to a wilderness and you're going to find somebody there like, hey, I got all your stuff? Like, that would be kind of weird, just in any kind of ambiance, and just the feeling of it, I think, would be odd. Like, I'm going to take a caravan from Winstead out to the wilderness of Miraleth and go to this NPC that's going to have my stuff, and I'm going to put it into a caravan to move it, or I'm going to individually transport whatever bags I can fill full of stuff and get on a horse. I mean, that's just going to make a target for people if something like that happens, because you're just going to watch the hey, I have your stuff from another realm NPC that's hanging out in the wilderness, and just stand there as a rogue, invisible, just clicking your stealth button over and over until somebody rolls up and talks to it.
That's okay if it works. Usually it doesn't work at the moment, so a lot of people can still see you. They can see, like, it works like ranger camouflage, or they can like randomly see your nameplate. But if it works, yeah they could do that.
Yeah, so that system wouldn't really work in the long term, Noobtastic, because if they keep it like that all the way up until live, and there's a fully developed world like a year after launch, they're gonna have to support sieging Metropolis in order to shift around what nodes can level from 0 to 1. And their node might be stuck at 0 and not be able to ever access any of their stuff. And again, if you had citizenship and were fully active in the mercantile business, and all of your storage all your storage boxes were all filled up with materials, that would be a huge loss for somebody.
Yeah. And just being locked out in general just feels bad anyways.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think there's better ways to do it than the way that was specified.
Yeah. But time will tell. That's what testing's for. I just think that type of situation is something that should be planned for, and they probably are. They just haven't really gotten into it. Maybe that statement of there's going to be the NPC at the node with basic access at level 1, citizen access when you become a citizen, etc. Maybe that's just for the current testing phase.
Yeah. And just to answer Dirty's question on colorblind mode, you should be able to change the colors of nameplates and stuff like that in your settings. I don't know if it's currently active, like with like friendly and enemies, but it should be on the to-do list for the UI team. As far as like ability effects and visual effects and stuff like that, I'm not exactly sure. I think they keep color blindness like in mind, but I don't think they have like any like inking technology where like the outside of the circle of like an enemy's chains of restraint is red and a friendly's is green. And I think Steven has said in the Node Wars dev update that he didn't like that idea. He didn't like it. And that they probably wouldn't, but they would keep it open to like just in case like things change.
Yeah, I know the colorblind thing. I know right now you can change names of people and what certain things mean. But yeah, Steven has some form of color blindness. I'm not going to pretend to remember all the different varieties because I just don't. But he has one of them and is definitely making sure that there's going to be representation for all colorblind modes in the game. Yeah, that's definitely a good move there, Ash. I know. I just know it's going to be possibly an issue down the line. Right now, again, with every server basically being the same, it's not going to be a big issue if they're merging one into another. But if they're merging two into a new one, that's where things would be weird and wonky for sure.
Be really interesting.
Everybody would be at war just to make sure that a specific node got leveled up. Like there would be war from level 1.
Could you imagine? Like 2 servers get merged into a new one, everything's wilderness, and everybody has different, like wildly different power scores, and they're just fighting over like different types of nodes with all these different changes. That would actually be wild, and I would love to see it as a social experiment during the alpha testing, but I also think it would be terrible for launch. Man,
could like just think of the fact that you could absolutely drive one node away from leveling up by just continually harassing them, because PvP doesn't get experience for the node, right? But PvE does. So if someone's out there trying to do quests and defeat monsters and go fishing, and you just constantly are like egging them on into PvP and just picking on them the entire time, they're never going to get that stuff done. And if you do fight and somebody wins, they're not getting experience for the node. So just having continual violence in the node will keep it from leveling.
Eventually you'll lose the war of attrition, because like corruption's a thing. Like you can't really war on people and stuff like that. So I mean, corruption is super punishing right now. Like nobody wants to go corrupt because of like how difficult gear is to obtain and all that stuff. So I imagine it won't be until like a year or 2 into a server's livelihood before people are like okay with going corrupt, because they just have a bankroll on items, materials, and gold where they can just freely discard their gear by fighting and going corrupt. Like that's the only time I see people going corrupt with the current system.
Oh yeah, definitely with the corruption thing, but I mean you don't have to kill somebody to harass them in PvP.
Or PvE?
Like, yeah, if they're doing PvE and you're trying to harass them with PvP, you don't have to kill them. You don't have to go corrupt. You can just literally just sit there and mess with them.
Get them low enough.
You can just mess with them all day long, like pull them this way, push them that way, whatever. Like egg them on and hope they'll attack back, and when they do, you kill them. But if not, you're still harassing them, you're still pulling them out of this, you're still interrupting their fishing cast or whatever.
Oh yeah, true.
Still being a nuisance.
Yeah,
and,
but you'd have to have like a mass group effort to like actually stop a node from level, because like that, like you'd have to have like hundreds of players actively harassing other hundreds of players so that they can't level a node. I think the war of attrition will eventually just fail. Like,
I mean, if
it'll
you
be funny for content and for trolling.
So let's put it this way.
Really
let's give you a different mindset. Let's say that Vyra, right? It started to be a failing server because Polar started to take over everything. Polar just dominated the entire place, and people were just tapping out or moving over to Luneth or whatever because they just couldn't compete against Polar, and Polar was just becoming a massive machine. And you know, you have to admit that's a possibility, right? Being a representative from Polar, yeah, you're a person in Polar, right? That could be a thing. Polar
I thought you were talking about
everything.
actual events that did happen. I thought that's...
No, I'm just saying, like, if Polar just dominates everything to the point where it's just nobody else really even attempts, and then at that point, like, people start dropping out of Polar and like leaving server 2 because they're like, this isn't any fun, there's nobody to fight. And then after a certain point, it just ends up still being a massive guild with a lot of powerful players, but the server itself is unhealthy, and they transfer Polar into another server.
Yeah.
And then Polar's like, well, we want our Winstead back, or our whatever back. And it's not developed, but all the other ones around it kind of are. Well, we can just change that.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's still a possibility, and especially if 2 or more servers were to be merged into one new server.
I actually don't even think that's going to be unordinary. I think that's going to happen a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are upset at bigger guilds. Polar, not polar, it could be any other guild, new guilds that show up into Ashes of Creation that take the game like super seriously and want to like compete at a high level. I think it's going to happen. There's going to be people that are really upset with like these big guilds and they're going to be treated as villains. There's going to be a lot of propaganda around all of them. I think this is just, it's kind of the state of what Ashes is trying to be. I think it's something that either people have to get on board with or just say, you know what, Ashes isn't for me. It's because that there will be little subsections of the world. I'm not saying like one guild's going to own the entire realm, but there will be subsections of the world where it's completely guild run. And people are not going to like that area of the map, and maybe they just play on the opposite side, you know? So I mean, like right now it's an issue because the world is so small. I mean, like it's big. It takes forever to get across from like the desert to the tropics, especially running caravans. But when
Can you
the
imagine
world
that being 9 times larger?
you know, that's insane. And like I imagine when the world is like that size, 9 times larger, it's going to be less of a problem, but it's still going to be a problem to those people in that region.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a thing, and I'm not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with it so much as just if they were to merge multiple small servers into one new server, or you know, even one small server into another server, like it's gonna mix things up for sure.
Yeah.
And just taking care of things that are in storage, things that people have spent their time and effort trying to keep a server alive should be recognized in some sort by getting them something. Yeah, like Chibi's beard. Nara likes your beard there, Chibi.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, it's like something should be transferred over, I think, in like the dying days of a server. If someone's trying to keep it alive by building up a node, and then all that effort just gets flushed down the toilet, like they may as well not have tried and just let the server die and just not played, you know? So like something needs to happen, and that's kind of why my brain moved towards the give an encampment in whatever portal areas there are that you could go and interact and grab individual items out of your transfer bits. That. Or you can personally yourself travel to a node, become a citizen or not, and then transfer stuff into that node once you get there directly from a storage account. Like you basically are telling an NPC, hey, deliver my stuff here, and this is what you're delivering here. And it might, even if it takes like a day or two, whatever, but you have like a month to get your stuff transferred and sorted.
I like that. I like that idea.
Rather than just dropping an NPC in the wilderness going, hey guys, come pick up your stuff sometime.
Yeah, right. At some point.
Yeah. Then there's just, you know, group stealth mechanics that are going to absolutely demolish people that are coming in there. Oh, server merge, guys. Get ready to farm.
Yep. So yeah, because that will 100% happen. Like for the competitive guilds, they'll just be like, hey, there's people coming in with new materials from different realms, and they're going to be spawning all in these 4 starter points. Go find a starter point and camp that. Yeah, that will happen. So that would be pretty toxic.
Well, Kaiser says Chibi looks very kissable. My goodness. But yeah,
Mike
Noobtastic. I saw your comment earlier, and I actually kind of loved it. Wars for level 1. Stop talking Steven into it. I can absolutely see that being a thing. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So we've, based on player feedback and statements, we've made region wars. Okay, you ready for this? If you stay a certain amount of time in a region, you'll be able to wage war in another region. So people have spent a certain amount of their time, a certain portion of their time in that region. You're actually just declaring like war against them. Yeah.
That would actually be sick. I would love to have like an open field battleground area where like 2 server merges are fighting for control. I think that would be sick.
Noobtastic goes biome wars.
Oh, speaking of like region wars and stuff like that, and like how the server would have to handle that, they pushed back the phase 3 to work on dynamic gridding until August. How do you feel about that?
I've always been in the camp of to a point, I don't care how much pushback there is or how much delay there is to the time frames. Obviously, if we start seeing messages like phase 3 is delayed until 2027, I might start to get a little bit iffy, or even 2026 for that matter. If that ends up being the year that they start talking about phase 3, I might start to get a little bit itchy and annoyed. But if they were to push back until even like November or something, I wouldn't be terribly upset, because I want everything to be done well. I do, however, think that at this point, if they're already doing the fresh start servers as something to introduce new info, and they're already letting in the phase 3 people who picked up the phase 3 tickets, then I think that it's kind of we're fuzzing what is defined as phase 2 and phase 3 outside of just I don't know, like objectives. Like this is our phase 3 objective, but we've lost what the definition of phase 3 really is if it gets pushed back too much.
Yeah, I think their roadmap has been completely overrun with development changes, and they need to like put out a new one, or like do what Jamie's been suggesting forever, a live development roadmap where it's just consistently going over time. I think that's fine too, but honestly, I'm a big fan of the delay, because I think one, phase 2 started out as shit show, and there was a lot of like obvious problems, and a lot of those obvious problems are not fixed. So I think if they started phase 3, we would get a disaster of phase 2.0.
Real quick, while you're talking here, I'm still gonna be listening, but I gotta close the door. I think I hear Doggo about to start barking at the neighbor's dog. I'll be right back.
No worries. So I think there would be like a phase 2.0 type of thing where you're essentially giving up like a bunch of possible data that they could be gathering, where it was completely ruined in phase 2. So I think the fresh start server is actually going to be really, really good for the fact that they're going to get that phase 2 data that they wanted from scratch at the fresh wipe. And with the new TTK changes and the stat changes and all that stuff, it's going to allow them to see how players procedurally gain all of this with the new stats, without having like currency and economy to be able to change their current gear scores and all that stuff and all. Yeah, so I think the fresh start servers is a good idea. I think the delay to bring in a better impact of like what phase 3 is meant to be, and also I think they need to redo their roadmap so that like there's better communication between the community, the testers, and the developers, and like what their goals are for the remainder until August, and then what their goals are for August forward. I think that's like essential information that we need as a community that has not been given to us.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in sync with your thoughts there. Like I'm actually surprised by how few resets they've done in phase 2. I really thought there would be more. Like once something spun out of control, they would have, knocked it back. Like, hey, I think we got the node leveling thing ironed out. We're gonna reset the server so we can experience that actually leveling up like normal. I thought there were going to be more, but I think they wanted to try to avoid reset fatigue with people.
Right.
But I think phase 1 and 2 were the two to get that out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been one of those like 3 to 6 month wipes types of people, because people will hit max level, there's not a ton of content, and I really think wipes really refresh people's motivation. I mean, there's gonna be some people that are like, man, I grinded 45 hours to get wiped, but I mean, like, we're in an alpha where you should expect to get wiped. But I also think that there is data that is very valuable to Intrepid, where the server's been alive for a long time and it's been reached max level, max level for us, 25. with these archetypes, how do players exist? How do stats exist? How does gear exist? How does the meta change? Does the meta change? Those types of questions are good for development data as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I just think there's so much more they could learn from those systems where they got some stuff figured out. And some of the stuff that might be uncovered anew once people are actually experiencing them along the way. And yeah, Mr. Noobtastic, we're all getting wiped on launch anyway. That's kind of to be expected. But yeah, phase 3 I think should be left to the absolute bare minimum. Oh my gosh, something broke so horribly for a restart. So getting them out of the way in phase 2, it should be, in my mind, it should be expected. Like, get us a couple of them.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to see like how dynamic gridding actually works, if it works. Also, I'm not even sure what the UE 5.5 update really contains, but generally newer technology creates better tools for the developers. So if they think it's a good idea, I'm just going to blindly accept that they think it's a good idea, and it is a good idea, because I have no idea.
It's
a lot of ideas.
And yeah, I think if anything, instead of getting restart or wipe,
like an official CC program, weird.
I think,
I love that.
I can't wait for that to actually be announced, even like what they're actually doing with it and who's in it. Like, we got our fingers crossed.
Was that originally announced for phase 3 or phase 2? I don't remember when they were.
It was
supposed
originally
to be
announced, before Alpha 2. It was we were supposed to have the details on that, but I don't think they got the person installed into place until like a month before Alpha 2 started.
Checks notes. It's April 2025, almost May.
Okay, so
That's crazy.
about 2-3 months. So I don't think that's enough time to go through everybody and make sure that if
they have a personal email,
and get everything all dialed into exactly how it's going to be run, because I know Maggie and them were working on the program for a while, but they also had other duties, so nobody knows how much of it was actually put together, right? And how much of it was actually in stone, and how much of it was just sketched ideas and waiting for the person who was going to run it to see what they think, present some ideas, and then they would put official stamps on, yes, this is how it's going to work.
I know this is kind of like a side note to everything, but if they're like, what would you want from the official content creator program? As both, I'm asking also the chat as well. Like, obviously we want it because we want to be able to like, have better communication with Intrepid and being able to deliver that to the community, and also like having like a better back and forth so that everyone's like closer or like to a real understanding. I mean, some of it is just obviously it benefits us as content creators, but like what would you guys like actually want from a content creator program? Because there was also that guild content creator program or whatever, and that was very poorly received.
I can't think of anybody outside of like a couple guild leaders who were all about it, but then they also thought about what implications there could be, and they're like, well, maybe not then. Yeah, because there are a lot of implications behind, well, what could occur, even down to, well, like, what's the smallest guild size? Well, there's no smallest guild size. Okay, so someone could just create a guild, have 2 friends in it, and outside of normal channels, they have their own special place to go and raise their concerns on an equal footing of a guild that's collecting feedback from 170 people.
Right.
But that's also, the bigger guilds are obviously going to be the more active ones inside a program like that, so then they could have, different levels of input weight, and it's like, well, then why do you need one? Just go with your feedback from out in the world. But
right, yeah. So like my original understanding of the guild one was so that they could run events that were not Intrepid sponsored, but that they would be guild sponsored by these Intrepid. It'd be like a pseudo sponsor from Intrepid give to these guilds so that they could create events within the open world officially with like certain tools and stuff like that. So like, for example, the Polar AV8 tournament. Now in my mind, it shouldn't be a guild run thing. It should be an Intrepid run thing. But because Intrepid is working on development, Polar is doing AV8 tournaments, right? So we're setting up tournaments with the community. We're kind of doing it all on our own. And there was actually some debate about this on Reddit on whether there was already favoritism going to like Polar, which isn't really true. But basically, Planendorf took
I'm just
his
saying,
own personal time.
Polar got RTB Lloyd, so there's obviously some kind of favoritism going on here.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, 100%.
But sorry, you were saying.
So basically Planendorf took time and like his own time off schedule for like 12 hours to kind of like help us with the event, and it was just because he had the time, he wanted to do it, and he was like readily available. But under no circumstance, like he told me, he's like, this isn't gonna happen all the time. You guys are not like, don't expect this to be like a real thing. Steven was also following up on like a promise from the previous AV8 tournament that we had ran, where he was like, let us know in advance, and maybe we can like give out mounts for the winners. And so we planned 2 months in advance, told Steven and Margaret, and they followed through with that promise. So like that was really, really nice. But because like that happened, another group on I think the Europe server or whatever tried to run a tournament, but Intrepid had declined to help, which, to be fair, kind of sucks. Like, you're viewing it as like, wow, they got it, how come we don't, you know? Like, I understand that perspective, but I've gotten denied by Intrepid like 7 times on 7 different other events that I was trying to set up. So and I'm not the only one. So it just happened to be that all things lined up. That's like literally the only event that I know that Intrepid has actually helped out with. And I don't really think it's because of favoritism. I think it's just because everything lined up like perfectly.
Yeah, and I think also there's something to be said about right place, right time, and you know, the first to successfully do something.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to even like let's say at work, the first person to suggest a change in a work process that saves everybody time, which they love, and the company money, which it loves, they're probably going to get a little reward for it. But everyone else beyond that point is like, okay, so somebody showed you how to do the thing, you should totally do that. We gave them a quick bonus because it was a great idea and it works, but not everybody's going to get that bonus, you know?
Right. And we had also previously shown that there was like this event could succeed prior to like the second event. So like the second event was like we did it, we showed the stream, we tried to keep it professional, and then we did the second event. And so like we had already shown a proof of success as well. So I think that also kind of deals with the thought process behind it as well.
Yeah, but like you said, to be on the fair end and offer the balanced perspective, it does kind of stink to see someone else get something for doing the same thing you did, and you don't get
and put a ton of effort into. And like those events are not easy to set up. So like, I think it's really, really cool that they are doing tournaments on like Europe and stuff like that. I think there should be more. And I think in the future, when Intrepid has the wherewithal and the staff to handle it, I think they should, like, the community team needs to have like Intrepid sponsored events that have like people that are willing to help out with the events and also like participate in, and there should be like some form of like actual system that's set up for that. And I think there will be. I think it's just not anywhere near the front of their mind at the moment. It is very, very far in the back of their mind until like the game actually exists.
Yeah, and yeah, Leloop. If you were talking about comments we were making earlier, that was more of kind of balancing out the different sides of people saying like why the guild program was good or bad or whatever. Like and them being able to design against success by bigger guilds, more people, and them getting outweighed feedback and whatnot. That's more of just like you're saying. How do you design against success? Like it's tough. It's tough because then the smaller guilds are going to feel left out, and then they're going to raise a stink and not to say like anybody has a bad take on it so much as just it's complicated. It's complicated because it's the same kind of issue with the CCs. Is what is too small a following for them to actually for Intrepid to put in the time and effort to try to grow that and nurture that content creator. What is considered quality content? What's not considered quality content? So there's just a lot of subjective measurements still. But I think
Chibi kind of run this, right? Because there are people that have good things to share within the community that may not be officially shared. So like you guys are creating your own community around like stuff like that, right? So
yeah,
I mean, like even if it's not Intrepid sponsored or eventually like Intrepid runs everything, there are other people like Chibi and Vertec, thank God, who are willing to kind of give a place for new upcoming streamers and YouTube creators to have some form of platform. And I think that that's also really cool and also extremely valuable as well.
Yeah, we do try. It took us a while to really realize necessarily that we were necessarily a platform, I guess, because we're not like huge and gigantic or anything, but like it is kind of like what you're saying. We're literally we are known entity, and we're presenting other people, so it is somewhat of a platform. It took us a while to really kind of get that to click, instead of just, hey, we're having friends over to say hi to people. But
right,
yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, the CC program, rather, the PvP program. Yeah, the CC program, it's tough for me to really think of a lot of things I would like to see out of it. I just know that I'd like it to not be like too advantageous, because I don't want it to get to a point where people feel bad about perks that CCs are getting. And that's me like coming from the point of CC trying to get in. But I think things like a little bit more advanced knowledge on some things, almost like a mini containerized PI.
Yeah,
like
I think
Phoenix Initiative, but
Newtastic was saying something like that in chat, where he'd like to see the content creator program events have some access / permissions to show things on like PTR, for example. So like we'd get like the PTR is happening. People are aware. They're aware of the changes because the verbal NDA is released. So like the content creators would be able to show like certain gameplay footage or something like that as part of the program. Or potentially like as long as it's because if you're working in a program alongside Intrepid, they should have like a you can do this or you can't do that type of thing. So that they're able to dictate what goes live, and we are just kind of a way to showcase the things that they want to show.
Yeah. And that's I think got to be the core of the quote unquote perks, right? Is just getting a little bit of advanced information, get some kind of a system in there to be able to set up either events or discussions. Should be able to put in a request for maybe an Intrepid guest on the show. That type of thing. Even for that matter, just being able to request that, hey, I'm putting on this unofficial event, and I would really like to request, a little bit of advertisement from Intrepid, like a little bit of marketing.
Yeah.
Right. Can I get some art from you guys that would incorporate this and that? Can I get some other assets for this and that? Can we get, some awards to give out in game, like some cosmetics or something? Like systems for all that type of thing, I think would be nifty.
Yeah. And I was gonna say just last thing on to touch on the content side, with like league partnership program, the LPP, they don't even really interact with their streamers too much. They're just put in part of a program. They're allowed to give out certain gifts, certain like RP gifts, like skins and stuff like that. Sometimes they just get put into like part of like this. I forget what else they do. Like it's very, very minimal, but like they're officially part of a program and they are able to work with each other and network with each other in a professional atmosphere, and that's like enough for a lot of the league players. So I mean, it doesn't even have to be too extensive on Intrepid's end. They don't have to even give out too much stuff. Like as long as you are able to get like some sort of like I know like LS gets like patch notes in advance for his patch notes rundowns, like stuff like that. Just like very, very small stuff.
Yeah, like Taki the Fool was saying some animated stuff for overlays or alerts would be cool. Like official stuff that is. Yeah.
Some like announcements and stuff. Yeah. It's just easier to facilitate that information to the public. That's it.
Yeah. Like, yeah, actually I can't say anything about that because this is something that Chibi and I are working on behind the scenes. But I was gonna say yeah, we're trying to get some changes to our podcast, but I was gonna say like and insert what we're trying to do and then say if we were able to approach Intrepid to get something extra help on that would be a great thing for a CC program instead of having to do it all ourselves.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of a visual revamp on our backgrounds and stuff.
There's seems like chat's doing a whole other conversation than what we're talking.
Yeah, they are. So actually, yeah, let's catch up on something like that. So Leloup was saying, and I apologize. Normally, I'd pop up a bunch of these statements on the screen as we were rolling through them, but there was an update today to a couple things, and so I can't download those without potentially breaking the stream further. Didn't want to do that. Yeah, Leloup says, I mean, it's a hard thing to balance, right? PvP MMO, where the entire point of the game is guild v guild PvP. One guild is going to rise to the top, doesn't matter who it is. Could be Polar, Nova. But when one guild is best, it's kind of a snowball effect, right? They attract more players who want to be the best. Worse guilds lose players and get weaker. How do you design against that effect? I mean, it's also, I mean, maybe not even the best. Like, even just specific attitudes. Like, there could be a guild that prides themselves on being the villains and, like, I mean the word, not the guild, but, like, they pride themselves on being pirates. Like, literally going around and they're just pirating gear and they never do anything themselves. Like, they pride themselves on they don't have any gatherers. They gather by farming gatherers. And that's their whole shtick. And maybe somebody really likes that and they just grow to be super successful as a small to medium-sized guild. But they're not necessarily the best, but they could bring a lot of power their way just because of how they go about things. Who knows?
I mean,
but best is always kind of a relative term anyway.
I think the root of the question is like, how does the game developer balance against that? And I don't know if like the answer is they should. Because that's just, that was like kind of going off of what I was saying earlier. It's like that is a social construct. That's not necessarily a game development issue. It's not like really a system that they can really design against.
Yeah, because it's like if they were to try to turn off any way to gank caravans, but no, we built the systems so players can do as they wish with that stuff. Yeah. Do we condone like mercilessly taking out caravans? No, but that's what the system is. So
yeah,
we're gonna try to balance things to make sure that it's as fair as possible. But I mean, that's the system. We're not gonna balance against it.
Yeah, you are part of the top guild that you're running multiple mini guilds in order to do that, and you're facilitating that, and you're doing it really well, and you're taking over an entire realm. Congrats, dude! You won. You did the thing. You're going to just be a small guild and be a vassal. Like that is supposed to be something that's in the game. Is some people are going to have to be okay with being a vassal, and that is designed intentionally that way. You are not just going to be winning all the time. The design is not for you to win all the time. Even big guilds will lose to Zergs from time to time. Like this happens consistently already. Like there's people running like 20-man caravans and like 80 people will show up and steamroll them. Like this is going to be happen. This is going to happen. This is going to be like a technique or like a strategic tactical play on, you know, supply and demand. Like these things are just going to happen, and you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, and it's going to happen to literally everybody. So I don't know. I guess it just depends on what you define as winning, what you define as fun, what you define as what you want for your gameplay experience, honestly.
Yeah. And for the next comment there from Zerk, PvP in an MMO is a side activity, just that simple. I'd have to agree with Leloup on that part, though. At least like PvP is the point of Ashes. Like PvE is kind of just there to get you to a point where PvP means anything, and that's
Correct.
really it. It's to level you up, and it's to get you materials by killing things that drop specific materials for specific gear. But outside of that, PvE is almost like the side thought. If you really think about it and look at the systems of Ashes, PvE is kind of it's kind of like the frames that you put up in a house, but everything else in the house, like the walls, the roof, everything else is all PvP. Yeah. Everything else about it is PvP.
Yeah, I think that generally sums it up. I mean, the mobs in the world, the story. I think the story in the world will be interesting. I think it is set up to be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But Ashes is actually really reminding me of Tibia. And Tibia is it's mostly a PvP game, but there are people that just PvE. They just continuously level. But the difference between Tibia and Ashes of Creation is Tibia is you can level to 10,000 to 1,000,000 if you want. I mean, it's going to take an exorbitant amount of time, but there is no cap on your level. However, with Ashes, the level cap is 50. So those people that are just casually playing Ashes, doing PvE, doing the story content, doing questing, and ignoring the PvP side, obviously they're going to be kind of put into situations where they're going to be part of a node that gets sieged or whatever, but they don't even necessarily have to participate in siege. They can just kind of like, oh, my node was destroyed, now I have to go get my stuff, or, you know, forget about it and go to a different node. They'll have to, you know, just they can be completely PvP avoidant in a very heavy PvP game. Whether that's fun for them or not, I don't know. That's not me. I like PvP, but it is possible to have that playstyle. It's just once you hit level 50, I don't know what the incentive is for the PvE player to keep playing. Unlike Tibia, where you could just keep leveling, keep mob grinding, keep questing, etc.
Yeah. I mean, there's always things like I don't take part in the caravan system anymore just because I have lost more money than I could have made by selling it to a merchant. So I just don't do that because I don't have the money to keep doing it. I have between 2 level 25 characters that do things and go places and no longer like. Well, I should say before I started just selling my glint to a merchant, I had 12 gold between them. And that was with actively trying to save gold because I was trying to rebuild another caravan for my second character to be able to run with whatever glint that one finds while slaying monsters. Otherwise it's going to waste, right? Yeah. But then I decided to not do caravans anymore. So then that 6 gold meant nothing because I wasn't going to buy another caravan for that one. And yeah, now I sell all my glint and I have a whopping like 25 gold. But it doesn't stack up quickly, but it's more than I had before.
Yeah. I mean, like I've had some really fun caravan runs. I say fun, but honestly they were really boring. What made it fun was the people I was doing caravan running with. Like, I'm never gonna solo run a caravan. That feels awful. Also, with the polar name tag, it's not possible. I'll just get ganked. Like my solo caravan running days are way long gone with my guild tag. So it is what it is. But Like we've ran from like Azmoran to Tropics. We've had massive caravan PvP, and it's been extremely fun. Where it's been us defending, us attacking. There's been a lot of fun caravan events when you do it with your guild. And like a lot of that is doing like a half hour to an hour of scouting, knowing when your rivals tend to run caravans, and like you kind of like have to do this whole event for it, where it just becomes literally hours upon hours of scouting and fighting over caravans, and it is some of the most fun gameplay that I've really had. And that tends to be just because we have all the gear that we want, and like we've spent a ton of gold, and we want to make more gold, and we want to deny our rivals gold. And I think that's where the fun really is for me, is that like kind of supply and demand, push and pull type of gameplay, where you're trying to just, you know, create content for yourself. And that's been a ton of fun for me. But obviously that's not everybody, and definitely not everybody that doesn't have like a big guilds, or people that are like just trying to run caravans, and then there's these other people that are attacking caravans. So yeah, it can be frustrating, and it can be extremely fun. So I don't know. It really depends on where you are and how you like to have fun, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I had fun with the caravans. I really did truly enjoy them. I just wasn't able to complete enough to make it profitable. So yeah, that's the part that I
and that
had an
is
issue with.
frustrating, especially when like chanting and everything is so expensive. I guess now like tempering is disgustingly expensive for just minimal gain. It feels like.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I had a conversation with somebody, and they were saying, see if I can find what they were talking about and how to break down. So is it a 0 to 3% tempering rarity increase? What's that mean?
So your item drops at a specific roll, like a stat roll. So if your Ember Blade drops at 266 power, which is the minimum roll, it could technically get up to 322 powers. Obviously that's a made up number. The power changes have drastically changed numbers, and I have not yet adequated myself with what the actual numbers are.
Yeah, just as a for example, random numbers for example's sake.
Yeah. So if you're rolled at 266, which is the minimum, and the max is 322 for a legendary sword, you have to do like gear deconstruction of like legendary materials, and do like a bunch of make like an legendary arcane engineering kit, which will allow you to temper this Ember Blade to go to like 267 power. 268 power, 260, all the way up to 322, so that you can like min max your so that you can literally min max your equipable item. It's a very, very late game thing. I don't really see it becoming a thing for leveling at all. It is essentially just to get the best roll on your item, and then and do that for like the best rarity of your item.
Okay, gotcha. So it's literally increasing like the hidden rarity number that decides if it's a rare, heroic, etc.
Yeah. I mean, like quality rating would be like heroic, epic, legendary, but the power rating would be like in between heroic to epic. So like I guess you could technically level something through tempering, maybe. I don't know if that's actually true, but essentially if you get a 268 like heroic power, and it takes 270 to level, and you temper that item, it could potentially become heroic to epic if you temper it enough.
Yeah.
That would be
okay.
Ascension. Roxek is saying Ascension might do that. Okay.
That's kind of what I was thinking and what I was going to bring up, because I haven't seen any actual like decent mention of that term doing anything, and that's the only thing I can think of is like tempering would get it, and that's why I was kind of clarifying if you knew anyway, because I haven't figured out everything about this. If you knew it was possible to go from like rare to heroic to epic, etc.
Yeah, I don't know if it changes the rarity currently with the tempering system. I mean, Roxek may be right where Ascension does that, but I think Ascension would be like it's past legendary to artifact or something like that. I don't know. I think it'd be weird. I don't know anything about Ascension. I don't know how they did like those stats in Arcage, which is a lot of these systems are like kind of coming from, like Lineage and Arcage. So
yeah, I think it'd be weird to be able to ascend something up to artifact tier, because artifact is supposed to literally be an artifact that, you know, there's only been
there's
one
only
that's
like
been
5
floating
or something
around.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think if Ascension were exactly that, and you were to temper up to the top tier of whatever rarity you're in, like let's say rare, and then you had to ascend up to heroic, but then you're at the top tier of heroic because all you're doing is changing the power band. You're not changing the percentage of the power band that you're in. The tempering would take care of that part.
Right.
And then enchanting is just boosting all the numbers from where they're at.
Next level, the next like gate, like the next gate, I would call it. Like, so heroic to epic is like a gate. Your power actually just increases, but it's still very minimal. You just reach the bare minimum of epic at that, but you have crossed that threshold.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how tough they make tempering, because I would be severely disappointed with the numbers that because somebody else had gone through and done a whole lot of figuring on this stuff, and it looks like you need to do a tempering kit for legendary. They were looking at to temper a legendary, you'd need a journeyman tempering kit, a dried wood plank, and a steel ingot, a blood boiled thread, and a whole bunch of other items. And it comes to like 7 gold to do 1 boost to potentially get you 3% more power.
Yeah, it's insane. The scaling on power and the amount of time and effort and gold that it takes to level is mind-numbing, and it is extremely difficult. And I don't see any player that's not willing to play this game like 60 hours a day to like really level this stuff, unless they're like max level already with like their BISC gear. Like, I just don't see a world where any normal player actually does it.
Yeah, and it's gonna be wonky. So unless they make tempering a lot easier to do and a lot simpler and a lot cheaper, then I would personally be really upset if I were to temper something of, let's say, a heroic value all the way up to the top of the heroic band, and then I ascend it, and then I'm back to like 1%. Like, I barely made any increase by just boosting up like 1 point. Literally, like, it could go from like 199 to 200 is now the heroic, instead of 199 was the cap of rare.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Intrepid, it's pretty obvious that Intrepid is trying to make the legendary feel legendary, right? Like, it is supposed to take an exorbitant amount of time and effort in order to get a legendary. However, it's making majority of the player base just extremely frustrated that there is so much that goes into it that they don't want to put in the time and effort, and then it's too much of a barrier to actually cross. So how do you balance player expectation of getting BIS weapons, BIS items, and also trying to create that, oh wow, this is a legendary feeling type of thing? It's extremely difficult. And also, like, there's going to be guilds that no life this game, and people are really upset at those guilds that are no lifing the game and putting a ton of effort into actually getting these items, and they're mad that they're getting just ran over in the open world PvP and caravans and node sieges and stuff like that because the stat differential is just so immense. So yeah, I mean, like, there is that aspect that is really frustrating as well. So I really don't know. Like, the game itself has so many mechanics of frustration.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly what Intrepid is planning, or if they're just trying to tune, like, within their own expectations of what that value is. I'm not sure what that feeling is per se. But it definitely creates a lot of raw emotion. And it's pretty funny just being in the community and listening and watching and seeing all of the different perspectives of like how everybody plays. It's pretty interesting in my own mind. If like Ashes of Creation as a social experiment, I think it's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. No, you know what? That actually begs a question when it comes to changes and delays because of them and so many systems and whatnot. Ashes is aiming to be one of the more complex, in-depth, and like wide-ranging games out there, right? And I know this question has come up before, but phrasing it and looking at it from the angle of most games put in multiple item adjustment tactics over a long period of different expansions, mainly to get people introduced to the game, get them in there, get them feeling things, and then they start adding complications. For one question on that, do you think that it would be a better approach if they had saved, say, at least tempering and ascension for down the line and just kept enchanting and crafting, because crafting is supposed to be complex as it is, for like the initial launch? And for two, what else do you think they could add to it if they're going to have leveling, enchanting, well, not leveling, artisan, so crafting the items to begin with, leveling it up through tempering, adjusting that base number, the new base number with enchanting, and then whatever they're doing with gem slots, and then also adding ascension. What else could they introduce as another system down the line to be like?
But I don't think they're going to be introducing these systems down the line because there's not really a necessity for it. Like, enchanting and tempering just feel like end game things. Like, you can do them early game, sure, for like a little bit of an edge, for a little bit of like a stat boost or something like that. But essentially what these are, they're min-max things. Like, these are things that take a ton of gold because you are just trying to get the best out of this item possible, and then you can either sell that item for, I mean, like, so far the economy to me has been so frustrating because like the amount of time and effort it takes to like enchant something and then you put it on the market, and it's like I spent 100 gold to get +6 on an enchantment previously, and it's like, how do I even put that on the market for like 115 gold? Do people actually care, or would they just rather enchant it themselves? Like, because they might get luckier than me. You know, like, it's really, and plus people don't even have 150 gold to begin with because they're not running caravans or something like that. Like, there's that type of aspect of like the economy itself, and then with the changes to enchanting, where a lot of that change has been like 1% ish of like your damage increase or your power increase instead of like just a +1 to it. I don't know, the whole power system in general has been a roller coaster of me trying to figure it out, me trying to adapt, me trying to think if this is the way the game should go. Like, obviously the time to kill was way too fast. I don't know. There's so many different things that were kind of brought with this change that I'm not sure if it's good intentioned, if it's a band-aid fix, if maybe this is just the way I need to adapt to change my playstyle and change my mentality, or like my perception of like how gearing and stat increases should be. Part of me also hates it because it's killing my, like, I can't do like dagger rogue because two-handed sword is just better. Like, all these stats and stuff like that are killing build diversity for me, and it's just creating a big math problem, which I absolutely hate. Like, I think a lot of the issues with their economy and gearing and time to kill, like all of this stuff, is really frustrating from a player perspective, because I don't get to play a character. I am min-maxing for
an Excel sheet.
Yeah, an Excel sheet of like what is the best thing to do, and it's really frustrating from like a player perspective.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was at with my thinking on that, is that introducing so much right off the bat to everybody at the launch of a game, I think it's going to make it seem like a stat sheet simulator type of game. But I mean, I suppose it's all going to be by flavor, and some people are going to love that and some people are going to dislike it. But I think they could have done really well by just having 1 or 2 item augmentation systems in instead of adding like 4 or 5. But honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think you might be on the better path for that ascension. If you go up, it gets you to you have to be up at the maximum of 1 tier, and then ascension will get you to the bottom of the next, so you can then begin the power push from that point onwards.
Yeah, I think my real issue, the root problem for me, is that Intrepid is trying extremely hard for complexity within these systems, when there should be simple systems with a lot of complexity. And what I mean by that is there are a ton of, there's very minimal like different like weapons. Like, so you can choose sword, dagger, spear, bows, wand, book, etc. You can choose any of these things. And then from there should be complexity. Like, maybe I want int on my book. Maybe I want like crit chance on my greatsword, or crit power on my greatsword. And I think the crafting should benefit those stats and be able to allow players to pick those stats to build their weapons, because they have like some sort of player thematic driven within that. They can use rare materials to build those like craftables to build upon those stats. I think that would be way more interesting, fun, and like people would care about that a lot more, rather than, oh, I gotta go find jackal knives or go farm Carfin armor. Like, I would rather go to Carfin, farm a rare material from a rare drop or like a named drop, and then craft that with the stat that I need. And that shouldn't just drop just from Carfin. Like, Carfin may have lifesteal or necrotic damage, or like you can choose these different weapon stats or armor stats that I would like to grab from Carfin. But, you know, maybe somewhere else on the other world, they can also get those stats, so that you don't have to go to Carfin. You can go to different places in the world and contest over different grind spots that way, so that you can build the items and build the weapons and the armor and the cloth and everything that you would like, and you can facilitate the economy that way.
Yeah, and that's
I think my real issue is with not necessarily the time to kill, but like how players are gearing and how players are actually building their like BIS sets, you know?
Yeah, and that's honestly going to add an extra level of complexity, because Steven's already talked about how he wants to let crafters adjust the stats on gear, kind of choose if you want to get, you know, a magic based book, but also has like physical something on it or whatever. Like,
yeah.
you just literally mix match all the stuff in there. But they hasn't really gone into what depth and how much. He just said to kind of build the item kind of how you want it. But we don't know if that's just the secondaries or if it's primaries also, or what have you. But when you really think about it, that's going to add even more balancing complexity to the world, because now you don't even have a base item with base typical stats that are then going to be augmented with enchanting and ascension and
yeah,
and gem slots.
It's really ridiculous right now. Now that I think about it, like, I didn't even think about it this in depth until like literally just now. But like, I kind of hate the direction the gearing is going into, and I kind of wish that it was more customizable towards like your play style, and like you could choose how to build these items and craft items. Sure, there's the Carfin Longsword or the Carfin Great Hammer that are great boss like drops that are just base good, but like craftable items like that you build should be like weaker at the start, but like if you put a lot of materials and a lot of gold into like these items, then you could craft them, and the artisans would be able to essentially make them better than legendary, and like lesser than artifact but better than, and they're like player made weapons or gear, and I think that would be better. And also I agree with Toast. I hate raiding. I don't understand raiding.
I always thought it was kind of a silly thing too, but I think it's going to add more for the back end for calculations, more flexibility to really fiddle with it than just a like strength stat alone would be. Because then also you can, with a rating, you can end up having an item that will give you the same, say, attack power as with both physical and magical. That way you don't have to put plus 50 strength plus 50 int, because then somebody who uses both, because let's say it's a fighter mage or something, then that's going to double their power of some skills or something. And they're going to have every item they can find that has 2 stats to it, and they're going to be over fairly boosted, besides one piece of item that's designed to be a purely damage additive item that's going to add to either physical or magical, but not both at the same exact time.
Well, at that point, I think we already have all the different stats. Like you have, instead of using strength, like strength can be strength. That's fine. But instead you give items just, this gives you plus physical power. This gives you plus magic power. This gives you plus lifesteal. Like we already have those. There's no real need for the rating, because the rating ends up being some sort of ratio to power level. And that is just really, really confusing. Like, I don't know, someone in my guild was like looking at items. It's like, oh, 50, the physical power is like a 50-to-1 ratio. And then all of a sudden, like on a different item, it's a 150 physical power rating is equal to 1 power. And so like the ratios aren't even adding up. And I don't know if that's a bug or if that's because of diminishing returns.
Yeah, that one might be an issue, but it might also be literally like
it's just really hard
imagine
to
a power curve of
understand.
A broadsword or a two-handed sword versus a one-handed mace. Like the power curve has got to be different even in real life. Like what exact, like how much damage is going to be inflicted by a dagger versus a two-handed sword. Like strength is going to be a much bigger bonus to a two-handed sword than it is to a dagger, because you can only stab so hard with a dagger and actually inflict so much damage at a time. You swing harder with a two-handed sword and hit just right, you're literally chopping somebody in two.
Right, and that's also where I wonder, like, base stats, like, does your base stat, like strength, become like a coefficient of power? Like, if you have 55 strength and you have a weapon that has 200 power, is there like some sort of coefficient? I don't know how math works. Is there like a coefficient between strength and your power? So like your base stat like is like a multiplicative instead of like an additive to it. Like, I don't know, maybe that's the direction that could have happened. Where like a rogue is definitely going to be more dexterous, so maybe a greatsword isn't the best for them, because they don't have a lot of strength on their base stats. So I don't know, like maybe that's another way that they could do the math, and that could be like very, very like intuitive as well, where like, I don't have a lot of strength, my great hand sword isn't going to do as much damage, and like I don't know.
I just think that having the power thing separate, or rating, having rating is almost like having a translator. Like you can take rating equals a certain amount of power, and you can put your different curves in there and adjust that and fiddle with it however you wish. But then everything else is like translating. Is this an additive bonus? Is this a multiplicative bonus? Is this a combined bonus that's going to impact this one, like magical as well as physical? Is this a insert, whatever the case is? Like there could even be crits are changed over to rating, which then impacts power or something. Who knows? Like it offers more of a translational into rating, but then out as a single simple rating to power conversion. Like you could add the rating that you would get from strength, and then the rating that you would get from just an item that just says add this much attack power, or add this much rating, or add this much whatever.
Yeah, I also would like to be able to hover over my abilities, and instead of it telling me it does 200% physical damage, it also tells me what the actual damage I do to a target with 0 armor. Like, what is my what is my damage? I don't need to do all the math myself.
Yeah.
What is my ability supposed to do? What that's my thought process.
I've longed for that as well.
Like there's just very little clarity in terms of like your actual output.
I've wondered myself why people who are like in a real rush to put up like build calculators and like put gear here and there and whatever, why they haven't, in any of them that I've seen, why they haven't made it so that the skills show you how much power or attack that you would get out of something.
Yeah.
Like this is what your damage would be outbound, like unmitigated outbound damage. This is what you get out of it. This is how much unmitigated or unresisted healing.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
ESO has that, League has that. There's a bunch of games that do have
like all of them. Like all of them.
So I mean, like
this is the first time I can remember in a long time where I saw percentages in a tooltip.
Mm-hmm. I think it's Steven's way of tormenting us, honestly.
Yep. It's an opportunity for soft friction. So we're gonna go ahead and keep it in there.
True.
Oi. But yeah, there's just so much, and let's see here. So there was a comment somebody made that I wanted to actually comment on right quick, and it was a minute ago. We've lost track of chat since then.
A little bit.
Okay, but yeah, like Roxek was saying, that's kind of why I was swinging around to the view of the Ascension would only just boost up to the beginning of the next tier up, because that does make sense. And even enchanting being quote unquote like an incredibly powerful thing, I think it should add a percentage boost, specifically add a percentage boost, because then the people who have spent more time tempering, ascending, and whatnot, when they go to enchant, it would for one, the tempering would increase the base stats of your weapon. The ascension would increase the rarity, which would then also get you more base stats. And then the enchanting would boost a percentage based on the base stats, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. I hate it. I wish it had a rework, but I'm gonna have to learn the meta again, and I'm gonna have to learn and do my Excel spreadsheets in order to get the builds that I want. Unfortunately, especially with like diminishing returns being really unclear. Although somebody did, I think no one made a video, like no one else. I haven't watched it yet, but from what I understand is like diminishing returns are just going to make it so that players don't have an excess of like 500 power, which I don't know if that's even like what they're trying to aim for like level 1 to 50 or level 1 to 25. I don't know if that changes based on levels. I don't like like I don't really understand it. I don't know if it's just like a temporary placeholder. Like people on the Reddit are saying that it is temporary, but I don't know where they're getting that information.
Here's this. No, so here's the thing, right? Let me actually open this thing. I just shared out, by the way, if anybody's wondering, a post that actually talks about all that and looking at the power curves and how it's going to be impossible to really reach 500 power. And then 510 power is apparently in the negatives somehow. Just because of how the math is done. Like if you somehow reach over 500 power, you actually suddenly become like not existing because you lost all that power.
It's to stop cheaters.
Yeah, just inputting X amount of whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I honestly think there's no way that it could just
That means
absolutely
Ganondorf
cap
can't
out
nuke me anymore.
unless they're legitimately yeah, right. Because they would have to, if they put this formula in, they would have to closely regulate the power on the items. So I think,
Yeah.
honestly, this has to be either a temporary thing or it's going to change per level. And when you're 25, the max you can possibly get is 500. But when you're 50, the max you could possibly get is going to be 1,000 for
But I'm
random
looking at
simple
the-
number sake.
I'm looking at the numbers on these graphs, and like to get to 490 power, you need 980,000 power, which is I don't
Rating,
think there's
yeah.
any. I don't think there's power rating, and I don't think there's any items that like even if you full enchanted, full ascended, full tempered, legendary or artifact gear could get that type of rating with what's currently in the game. I don't think it's possible.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. That would be kind of bananas.
Yeah. So, I mean, like the graph itself is kind of crazy because essentially, I don't think there's anybody getting to 300 power. And maybe they're doing rating based on like actual levels. So like level 10, you can only have like 10,000 rating. Level 20 gear, you can only have up to 20,000 rating. I don't know. Like,
And that's kind of what I was thinking is they're making it so that they can still kind of gauge like there is an impossible tier that people are not going to be able to get at each level point, because the person who put this post up didn't and actually even expressly said that they didn't include the formula itself. The formula itself could include player level, and that could impact this to where the quote-unquote impossible tier for level 50 could be 1,000.
Correct. Right. So yeah, like I honestly think that might be just how they did it was level 10 gear, the max you can get is 10,000 rating. Like I think that's very, very possible.
Do you recall what your power rating is that you've gotten up to?
Mine's 178 right now, and it was 454 previously.
You said, I'm sorry, what was the
With
first
level
number?
10 gear, primarily. I am currently 178, and I previously was 454.
Yeah. So, I mean, even Galwood said, even brought to mind, like, he did say the DR was temporary. I think there's still got to be a diminishing return. I think just the current formulas are going to be what's temporary.
I also
They're
think
gonna
just
adjust it in some
diminishing
way, shape, or
returns
form.
are. I think the goal of development should be so that there isn't diminishing returns on power, but you should just balance primarily for what's in the game. It should just be like your end goal as a developer is to make sure that it's just balanced and that you're not giving these like this weird hidden stat like that you're
Well,
not able to keep track of as a player. Like I find that very weird.
So here's the thing with diminishing returns. It does a bunch of different things. For one, it does prevent foul play. It helps prevent foul play, because if someone were to, in this instance right here, be like, oh well, I have 500 rating and it's only giving me 100 attack power. Let's see if I do this thing that's cheating, hacking, and whatever that gives me 105,000 power. Oh, cool! It gives me that. What if I have 1 million? And then their character breaks. So they can't just absolutely go in and like start one-shotting, bosses and such like that until they get their account deleted. But it can also make sure that nothing does get accidentally creeped too far. Like they can set like this is the absolute highest like ungodly number. And then if some player manages to somehow crack the code that the developers didn't see to give themselves legally and within the game's boundaries a power level that they did not expect whatsoever, they don't have to like emergency go heal that and like maybe do a rollback or something. They could just go and say, okay, well, they absolutely broke something and that should absolutely be giving them a lot more power than it is, because they've hit that soft DR and then gone well beyond it. And it also allows for more dynamic builds as well. it lets somebody do more than just say, I'm the only effective way to really win in this game is to stack power, because power goes on linearly forever. Just stack power. You can ignore anything else. So your power only goes to a certain point. So now what's the next best stat for me? Is it going to be mitigation? Is it going to be critical? Is it going to be, you know, what's the next best thing for me after power?
Yeah, right. I mean, there's that. I don't know if that makes the system interesting. But like maybe it's called diminishing returns, but I call it like a soft cap. Like a soft cap is fine.
Yeah.
But if they're called diminishing returns, that's also okay. Like I understand that. Yeah, so maybe my terminology was just different. But I think of like diminishing returns as like per my level, per X amount of power, it's going to nerf me essentially. Rather than I've hit the cap, it's I'm nerfed because of this system. Maybe it's a mentality thing when it comes to like that terminology.
Yeah, it's just like once you hit a certain point, the amount of gain you get from the same amount of effort goes down, is what it really is. Like you can keep going like this, even though those charts look like it has a flat left and a flat top. Like there is still a curve. Like if you were to follow that off to infinity, it's going to get like infinitely closer and closer to 500 before it disappears. Yeah. So there's still gain to be had, but it's not as good as before.
Well, he even has it right there. At 300 power, each rating is worth 0.01 power. At 250, it's worth 0.0125 power. Like, the diminishing return goes further and further and further. Like,
Toast-Elise
it's crazy.
just wants 100 billion magic power. Wah, wah, wah.
Dude, mages were already doing that with like 550 power. They're just absolutely one-shotting everybody in like full-on raids. It was kind of crazy. I'm glad time to kill is lower. I think the gearing system is just extremely frustrating.
Yeah. Again, that's why I have the opinion they should have started with something simpler. Like make the crafting system complex. Bring back that Star Wars Galaxy's crafting system that everyone raved about, and then add 1 or 2 gear modification systems in, and leave it at that for launch. After you can see how those impact everything and you get a grasp on balancing all that stuff, then go ahead and add the other fun, crazy, exciting things.
And maybe this is just us being gamers and we're trying to like game the system so much that like this is just a very, very easy way for the developers to read data, and it's just really frustrating on our like maybe that's the case. Maybe it's a band-aid fix that they just temporarily did to say, hey, stop one-shotting people. Like I don't know the specifics behind it, but it's either way, it's just frustrating from a player. Yeah. But either way, like whatever their plan is, I mean, they're going to be executing it with feedback, so we can just kind of give that feedback, and hopefully they take it. Hopefully they run with some stuff. Yeah, I'm doing my part. But if they don't, I mean, that's what we're here to test, right? See if we can, at least if they're going to stick with a certain plan, then we can help them with some information to guide their future movements on it. Yeah.
How well they tune it.
Another thing I was saying is like a lot of it is weird that your stats are heavily like strength and intelligence based. Like they're like strength and intelligence forward based on like your power level, rather than like because this game is primarily balanced around like made around D&D and Pathfinder and stuff like that, where I would think like my abilities might do damage based on the type of weapon I have. If I have a dagger, it's a finesse weapon, right? So it's primarily dexterous. But my dagger is doing strength damage for some reason, right? It's not very, Pathfinder / D&D friendly that way either. So it's like, they're using these base stats as they're really weird. So I don't know. Like I think that
That's
their entire
something.
just rework because it's just not very intuitive.
Yeah, that's something that I brought up a while back. Is that, like you're saying, with the finesse portion of it, like it takes more style than strength. Maybe a longbow could be a strength weapon. Shortbow is more finesse.
Yeah.
Because longbow, it's just a proper, really strong longbow. I mean, you get some heavy pull strength on that. It still takes some finesse, but it's mostly like brute strength to aim the giant like tree trunk at somebody to shoot him with that big ol' arrow. But the short bow's a lot more finesse and speed and accuracy. And then the same thing with like daggers and swords and.
Yeah, and I think of like wisdom. Like clerics are generally wisdom-based healers or casters, so they have more healing based in wisdom and more damage based on intelligence. Like that could be a different thing too. Like, like I'm not sure if they just did this system to just kind of temporarily put it in and try to tweak numbers that way.
Ironically,
or like
there's two separate
stats
stats for mitigation, one for physical and one for magical.
Yeah. Mentality and constitution.
Yeah.
So yeah,
which I guess that's not necessarily ironic, but you'd almost expect because they're compacting different weapon types into one attack stat each, that they would have also compacted mitigation for all kinds of things into constitution.
Didn't they change a lot of that with the new time to kill stats too? Like
they
just did like
they made it more in depth now.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Now
like,
every single
we
stat.
honestly, as a player base, have not had the time to truly figure out the new TTK system.
Yeah. They instead of having like 2 or 3 waterfall stats for each stat, now they have like 5 for each stat.
Yeah. It's weird.
So it's gotten more in depth and more crazy. But we'll see how that pans out. But if nothing else, that also means that the diminishing returns for just straight power gains are going to be more important, because now you have more stats and more waterfall stats to actually try to pump up through other means.
I will say it has me theory crafting different builds with my rogue now. I'm going to keep those close to the chest until I do my testing, but it's at least made me change how I feel like I should gear, and like it's changing like maybe some item options that I might not have taken previously that I might take in the future.
Yeah. And real quick, Chappie, thank you for this.
It has changed me.
Cheers.
Thanks, Chappie. 18 months. Huge.
I'm out of drinking my tankard, so I went for the fireball shot. All right, fireball potion.
You're crazy.
That's the only other thing I have to
GB's
choose
not here.
with.
Time to party.
Heck yeah. But sorry, what were you saying? I just wanted to sneak that in real quick while you're paused.
I forgot, but I think I was done. I was primarily done with whatever I was saying.
You're so well. Oh man, you're gonna hurt me. Hey, at least it's Saturday. So if it were a Monday or a Tuesday, it might get kind of rough. But by all means, break out the sub wallet on a Saturday.
Easy.
I got a couple bottles of stuff here. I got some peanut butter whiskey. I got some Fireball. I'm good.
Nice-oo.
Aye. But yeah, did you have any other like top of mind things when it comes to either the delay or any of the other changes with stats and skills?
I think we covered literally everything, right? So we got tempering, we got the delay, we got how my life's been, we've gotten diminishing returns, stats, time to kill, gearing, content creator program. Talked about a lot.
Yeah, we kind of covered almost all the bases. There's only a few things left that we could cover. Well, let's see here then. So we'll probably start trying to wind down here. Let's see who we can maybe raid over to.
Woo!
So,
Mr. Dusty's on.
Dusty is on. He's got a bajillion people watching him too. Oh, we love us some Dusty.
I like that guy.
I was seeing if anybody else was on, because we typically raid over to him. But we try to share the love, spread it out a little bit there.
True. I haven't even looked at this. I just looked at my following.
And actually, I don't recognize any of the names on people who are in the Ashes category. I mean, there's Esoteric. I've just seen the name. I don't know anything about the person.
He's a character.
Okay.
I would say Dusty is my choice if you were gonna give it up to me.
Okay. Well, hey, guest get some swing in the vote.
Let's go.
So Dusty it is.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for jumping in. Chibi. It's been great to have you on the show. Oh, speaking of which, Chibi, did you want to put your on the way out? Have your little Chibi napping on the way out the door?
Ooh, there's a fight happening.
Oh,
Now I have Dusty on 2 tabs. Dang it.
Yeah, but one of them is gonna say raid at the end of the URL, so. Do. Let's see.
Rigged. He put in a sub. It's rigged.
My gosh. New champion of the hill with the #1 fan finger. I mean, the timing works out.
True.
We got a little bit of extra, bouncer enforcement behind the scenes. You may not have seen that. Should keep that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're gonna get Chibi, the other Chibi, a beard now.
Yeah, we gotta switch and cosplay as each other now.
Yeah, it better have elastic on it, like one of those little Santa beards, because my Chibi.
But you don't like her actually growing out like a dwarf?
Will have an actual beard. I'm sorry.
No Ashes of Creation female dwarf beard?
I will forcibly shave her.
Isn't she playing a rogue dwarf right now?
I'm not sure about right now, but that is something that has been promised to our dwarven friends, is that she would make a rogue dwarf to play, or at least a dwarf. Nice. And I think the dwarf ended up being turned into a rogue.
Nice.
Okay, let's see here.
Rogue is the life. Rogue is the way.
It is. All right, there we go. We got it set for Dusty Y here.
Nikua Rogue. Oh yeah, for phase 3.
Nikua Rogue.
Oh yeah, are the races coming in May before we raid over?
That I don't think they've actually put anything out about that. To be honest,
I wonder what content they're actually going to release for May.
They just said that server merges and fresh start servers, I think, were the only things they really put a big talk about. Actually, let me real quick here while this is counting down. So
you got time. I'll let you know when it's close.
Okay, so yeah, phase 2 extension now through August is they're going to be introducing Pyre, Renkaya, and Nikuin races, and the last archetype summoner. But it doesn't really say that like right now in May.
Right. Yeah, it's always just sometime in that phase.
Inviting more people, fresh start, merges, the end. But anywho, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You spent your time here. Your time is not refundable, even if we wanted to. You only get so much of it. Since you spent it here, we really hope you got your money's worth. And we'll talk to you next time. Everybody take care. Bye.
Thank you all for coming.